Yes! Oh, man. It's Friday night. I'm here talking football, and I got a big treat for you. I got Pete with Pete's Takes here live. Pete, what's up, brother?
What's up, Dan? Thank you for having me up, man. What an amazing channel you have, Smart on Football, and I'm glad to be here a part of this show, man. I couldn't wait for the Chiefs versus Dolphins. This is
Man,
one of the biggest games of the year, bro.
It is the biggest game. What a great slate of games, but it all starts off Sunday morning in Germany. The winner will be on top of the AFC. It's going to be a great game. Hey, listen, before we get going here, man, tell everybody here a little bit about yourself, about your YouTube channel. By the way, for everybody who's watching, there's a link to Pete's Takes on the description. Go to his channel, hit that subscribe button.
Oh man, I appreciate that, Dan. I'm
You have
just
a great
Pete's Takes. I'm just
Yeah.
a Dolphin fan. I'm a random. I post up sometimes randomly whenever I get a chance. I'm not really a big into being a real big creator. I just stick around for the Dolphins community, and I love football, so I just stick around for that. Listening to special guys like you, believe it or not, I love listening to your weekly picks. You were on it last week, and you stay on it, man. You guys are awesome on this side, so I appreciate you guys.
I appreciate the love. I almost nailed Thursday Night Football perfect. I called 1915. It was 2016.
Wow.
How better can you? You can't get any more than that.
And I'm glad and I was with you there too, because I did consider this a field goal fest. I was like, this game is gonna be a field goal fest, not many touchdowns involved, and I thought at some point Tennessee was gonna take it.
I did too. I really like the way Levis has been playing, but I didn't see Tomlin losing to a rookie quarterback at home on a short week. I didn't see it happening. I just didn't.
I agree.
Listen, Harry, we're going to break down Chiefs Dolphins, but let me do this here. What were the expectations of the Dolphins before the season started?
Man, like my expectations?
Well, let me ask you this here. What were your expectations, and what are the fans down in Miami thinking before the season started?
My expectations were, it's kind of shocking, to be honest with you, because as a Dolphin fan that's very, very critical of our quarterback Tua, a lot of us, and not there's a lot of us, believe it or not, that didn't think Tua would play and stay healthy this long already. So he's all coming off that concussion that he came off of last year. So
I'm one of them.
So
if you would have told me he's going to play 9 straight games to start the season, I would have said no. I'll put action against that.
Okay, so you see where I'm saying. So you're one of them. That's why I said there's a lot of fans that were out there. They didn't think, and I didn't think he would stay healthy this whole entire season. The season's not over. A lot of the critics, like myself, still want to see this continue even in December. Hold it down to December the way you have been, and then you could maybe start turning some heads. And Tua is, who I'm talking about. But the season expectations, honestly, were based on that. We're really based on if he can stay healthy, what will happen, And so far, so good. This is what's happening. Even though the offense is a little tricky, it's been working with the fast guys, and it's one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL right now based on stats.
It is easily the most exciting offense in football. It's a little embarrassing because you guys go to Denver and you put up 70, and we go there and put up 9. But the Miami Dolphins is easily the most exciting offense in football right now. There's no debate there. What are the expectations now? So you're 6-2. You're on top of the AFC East. You have a chance for the number 1 seed. Are you guys thinking Super Bowl? Are you guys just trying to get to the playoffs? Is it a wait and see approach? What do you think?
I think the fan base is already ahead. These guys, like the community, for the Dolphins community, like the loud people, the Tuaneers out here, I think they're really believing that this is a Super Bowl team right now, ready and forbidden. Nobody's stopping them. Me, on the other hand, as a fan, I do believe that, you're going to have to show it. You're going to have to show it in December because, what was the cornerback name that came out on the recent interview and said they're going to be more physical and that's how you stop them?
Oh,
I think it was Snead. No, it was not Snead. It was
no,
the other guy.
actually, to tell you the truth, I think I want to say it was Justin Reed. He's one of our
I,
safeties.
yes, that's exactly who it was. It was Justin Reed. He came out and he talked about how to stop this offense. And this is exactly what I've been saying in the community before. Like if you're physical at them at the line of scrimmage, yeah, they're gonna move Tyreek Hill in motion. But when they start moving Tyreek Hill in motion, you double him real quick and you jam up Waddle. You take the timing off on the play and you take him out. And I know that's what Andy Reid is going to do. He's smart at this. So I'm a little bit concerned. The season outlook right now has exceeded my expectations. Again, I didn't think that this was capable. I'm a little shocked as myself. I'm happy it's here. I hope it continues. That's the only thing. I hope it continues, and it continues to shock me, Dan. But I truly believe Sunday, this thing is gonna be figured out. There's going to be a lot of excuses, and then people are going to buy into it all over again versus the Raiders, because we play the Raiders the following week, Dan. I just want to be able to trust this team to beat a team like your team, Dan, the Kansas City Chiefs. We lost to the Eagles. We lost to Buffalo. At what point can we beat? We're gonna see the Chiefs or Buffalo in the playoff run if this team
Exactly.
is on a Super Bowl run. We have to show that we can beat you guys. And at some point, it'll feel a lot better if we beat you guys in the regular season, and then we see you guys in the playoffs. It'll feel good. Now, if we lose to you guys in the regular season and go see you guys in the playoffs, it's not gonna feel good at all, not at all.
No, I completely agree. And you said something. You said something that I thought was really interesting, because the problem, that only thing I see really wrong with the Dolphins is that I do a lot of sports betting like yourself. That was one of the big reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show. And if you have a good time here, I hope that you come back, because you have some really good sports betting information. If Tua can stay healthy, this is kind of what I'm expecting. But what happened at Alabama? He couldn't play a whole season in Alabama. I think the most he's played is 12 games in a season in his first 3 years in Miami. I think that's correct. I feel pretty confident about that. If you would have told me before the season starts that, hey, look, he's going to play the first 9 games, I would have bet against that. And as mean as this sounds, I don't expect him to stay healthy. I think he's going to miss a couple games down the line, and then once he's injured, that's kind of when I see Miami falling apart. But when he's healthy,
you see, Dan, it's funny to me because I don't expect you to know this name, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if you do know the name, because I know how much football you do know based on the channel I've watched for you for a while. So I know you know. But you remember Oronde Gadsden for the Dolphins?
yeah, I remember Rondé Gaston. Yeah,
I knew you remember.
yeah,
So he came out.
he was the Arena League receiver.
There you go. You see, I know you know your thing, bro. That's why it's. I know you know
I've
your thing,
always
bro. Like
liked
you're one of the
Miami.
guys that
I've
amaze
always
me when it
liked
comes to
Miami.
football. You're like a football encyclopedia, Dan. You know so much, dude. It shocks me. I love you, dude.
I paid Pete $50 to say that. By the way, I paid 50.
No, no, no. Hey, but check this out, Dan. Around the Gaston, following the Eagles' loss, I guess he was upset. He goes on this Miami Dolphins. He's a post game guy. After the game, he talks and stuff like that in the media as well. So he comes on YouTube and he talks, and he came out and he was frustrated. He said that the eye candy of this offense, all the little gimmicky things, the little misdirection and motion, it's just too high usage of an offense. It's too tricky, and you're doing things that is unnecessary. What Oronde Gaston would prefer, like, this is what's gonna happen, Dan. If we lose to the Chiefs Sunday morning, this guy is gonna come out and say the same thing. This team with all the speed just beats up against physicality. And at the same time, you can have all the speed you want, but when the physicality is there and you guys get smashed up, what's going to happen? You have to have a plan B. And that's what he was saying, a plan B. I don't know what a plan B he meant, really. But to me, the plan B, the way I took it, you would have to see that yourself, was you just need a traditional drop back quarterback that can throw down the field.
That's really
You see what I'm
interesting.
saying?
That's really interesting that you say that, because I think that what they're doing in Miami is really interesting. A lot of people think it's overly complex, and one of the things before the show that you hit on that I thought was just brilliant is that this Dolphins offense is not complex, but it looks really complicated because you have motion and shifting all over the place. But they don't do a lot of different things. It's motion, it's shifting, but it's not an
And they play with the line on past plays. McDaniel has his guard pulling like it's a run. You see what I'm saying? He'll have the guard pull like it's a run, but it's a basic pass play action. Boom, he's tricking everybody. All the linebackers are staying still because of that, or chasing the pull. Next thing you know, when the outside linebacker chases the guard that's pulling, he leaves the slant wide open.
you've
And
been
that's why this guy's getting wide open
on
looks.
Hill. That's it's game over.
100%. I
It,
think Andy Reid knows that.
I
So
think
what are your expectations for this game? Tell me how,
you
tell
know
me how, as an outsider, tell me how you look at my team, because I'm really down and I'm shocked that my team is doing what it's currently doing, Dan. So
it's
help me
funny
out.
because I thought going into the year I had Miami finishing last in the AFC East, but I thought they would still be a
Wow.
9-10 win team. I just think the rest of the East was loaded. Now, I was dead wrong about New England. I thought they would have a really great defense. The offense would get on track, and they're just a complete shitstorm. So I had New England winning the division. That was kind of my upset pick of all
Wow.
the yeah, because I have one upset pick out of all the division winners, and mine was the AFC East. I had the Patriots. So I was wrong about that.
I'm
But
shocked on that. But I'll be honest with you. I'm with you. I also had the Dolphins, and my thing was, if Tua played the whole year, this is the crazy thing, right? I said if Tua plays the whole season, we're gonna probably more than likely end up last in the division. Patriots were third. I said if Aaron Rodgers plays the full year, Jets take the first, and then Bills are second. Two playoff teams in the division.
yeah,
That's how
I
I
had
had it.
Jets, and then I
So
had Miami. Or I'm sorry, I had the Jets, and then I had Buffalo. That was another upset pick because I had the Bills missing the playoffs, and kind of an upset pick right there. But my impression is, and you nailed this, is that I look at trends, and I think there's going to come a time, some knock on wood, it doesn't happen. I don't want to see a player get hurt, and to his all accounts, stand up guy, great guy. I think he's going to miss some time because he's done it every single year he's played. He did it at Alabama. He's done it all 3 years in Miami. I think there's going to be a stretch where he misses 2 to 4 weeks. You take two away from that team, they're not going to win those games. And that's the issue that I see. I don't want to take anything away from Tua or the Dolphins, but if you take Tua away, and I think he's going to miss some games. I'm shocked that he's gone 8 straight starts, 9 straight starts.
well, I believe Tua's record in games that he's been sacked 2+ times, he's like 10-10.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like 10-10 in games that he's been sacked 2+ times. So
Well, I want to read some comments here. One Pride 40 jumps in. He says, "Sorry, Dan, you may be taking an L this week." By the way, One Pride DM'd me. He likes the Dolphins this week. Slasher, what's up, Slasher?
he's a Lions fan.
So, One Pride's a Lions fan. Slasher's an Eagles fan. One Pride says, "You don't think the Dolphins aren't physical?" No, I do not. Not on offense. They
No,
rely on that speed, which is phenomenal. And as much as I love Tyreek Hill, every time I watch the Dolphins play, I always say the same exact thing. I always say that Jalen Waddle is something special. And I think that when his contract's up, I don't know if you can keep him. That rookie deal that he's on.
we do have too many first-round draft picks, and it's shocking to say a draft pick that's been considered a bust all the way through his first 4 seasons or 3 or 4 seasons is Austin Jackson, the right tackle, and he's the most consistent tackle this season. He's been the healthiest. He hasn't missed a game yet. He's actually looked better than what he's ever have, and he's a guy that's going to have to be in contract dispute, because what are you going to do if this rookie you drafted in the first round alongside with Tua finally on his last year of his contract, what he finally developed, he finally figured it out, he was in the same system 2 years in a row, he's good now, are you going to let that guy walk?
It's funny because I remember him coming out of USC. I liked him. He reminded me a lot of Tyron Smith.
One of
And
the most athletic tackles in the NFL.
exactly. And I thought this was a can't, and he was just awful. And I'm like, what the hell? And now he's playing pretty good. Teron Armstead, me and you talked off the air. Teron Armstead, you're expecting to play. Is that correct?
I do expect Teron Armstead to play.
And he's a guy I absolutely love. It is just that is he healthy? If he's healthy, he's one of the best left tackles in football. If he's not healthy, then you have some problems. But you got Jackson, who's played well. I liked Eichenberg, the guy out of Notre Dame. I know he moved inside to guard, and if I'm correct, he's going to play guard this week. If Teron Armstead is going to play at left tackle, is that correct? Do I have the offensive line correct for
You
Miami?
pretty much have the some of the names correct. Yeah, Eichenberg will more than likely move to guard. He has not been very good at all. He's coming off a center who kind of shocked me. He did pretty good at center, to be honest. But if we get Connor Williams back, we're moving Connor Williams back to center, Eichenberg to guard. Teron Armstead is back. He's holding that left side. We got Austin Jackson. So we're really only missing one piece, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's Lamb, someone that's going to fill in that other guard spot. So there's really no excuses with this offensive line. They've taken a couple weeks off. Armstead should be fully back, fully ready to go, healthy, well rested. Connor Williams as well. He sat out last week's game. He's prepared for this week. I think these guys are going to be battle tested and ready. Dan, I just don't see. There's one major impact. We are taking a major impact. The guy that won't play, the right guard, Robert Hunt, who took the injury, that's going to be someone hard to fill in, but you're getting the rest of these stars back. So it is what it is. It neutrals itself out. I do think the Chiefs D-line has an advantage there. But at the same time, the Tua's game, if you guys take away that quick passing and you force him to stay in the pocket an extra second, that's where I think you guys are going to dominate the game in the trenches. And I think that's what Andy Reid is going to be aiming for, to be quite honest with you. He doesn't really want to allow many points to the Dolphins because he's not going to like that at all.
Well, it's kind of funny because you took the words out of my mouth, and that's exactly the reason why I think the Chiefs will win is because you got Slasher nailed it right here. Armstead coming and Austin Jackson. That's a guy that because I remember when they drafted him, the kid was I can't remember if he was 19 or 20. I know he was under
one of the youngest players in the NFL. Yeah.
And I thought it would just take a year or two, and it turns out to be it's taken 4, for him. And the good news is that he probably bad news for you guys is that he'll probably have to leave via free agency. But the good news
if that guy plays the full season, the Dolphins are in a situation where they're going to have to pay so many players. One of those guys are going to have to walk. It's not going to be Waddle. They're more than likely they're going to select Austin Jackson to walk. He's a hot commodity on the offensive line, and I do believe if another team pays him, they're going to be overpaying for someone. But who knows? He probably hit his prime right now. He's
only
prime right now.
I remember at USC he was just like he looked just like Teron Smith did. Teron Smith's making a case to go into the Hall of Fame. That's one thing. I think you're going to lose both Jackson and I think you're going to lose Waddle. Because every time I watch Miami play, he just blows me away. Chiefs super fan's a new fan of mine who just got turned on. He says Chiefs win, end of discussion. One Pride says he doesn't think that we can handle all this speed. And it's kind of funny, One Pride. Pete kind of stole my thunder. It's going to be the defensive line and the Chiefs linebackers are going to be ready for the slants. I'm going to tell you right now, Miami's going to score some points. We're not holding Miami, to 10 or I would a Buffalo hold you to 20. You guys are going to get some points, but I really think that the Kansas City defense, specifically the defensive line, is really a mismatch against an offensive line that's a little banged up. I love what Pete said. He didn't come out with any excuses, and he just said, "Hey, look, we got our guys. We're ready to go." Slasher says Tyreek will get his early in the game, but the offensive line is a weakness, I would say. And you guys are kind of taking the words out of my mouth here, and you guys are just, that was kind of my whole thing is that I like the Chiefs defensive line against a banged up offensive line. But let me ask you this here, Pete. Tyreek Hill, 1,000 receiving yards after 8 games. But you're hearing this MVP talk. You're not buying into that, are you?
Wow. You see, the thing is, to be quite honest with you, if let's just say Mike White or Skylar Thompson, one of these backup quarterbacks come in, I still think Tyreek Hill will still be able to put up these numbers in this offense. It's so it's so set up for him. That's what this offense is set up for, putting him in a situation where he's going to be wide open. And McDaniel has figured it out week after week. Last week he had 11 catches. I would love 11 catches as a wide receiver. The yardage wasn't there, 88 yards, but he did score on a long one, But at the same time, that's an MVP front runner, to be honest with you. It's going to be shocking for a wide receiver to win MVP, but he's going to have to win the Triple Crown and do it. That's just the only way. You got to have the most receptions, the most yards, and the most touchdowns. And I think Tyreek Hill, if he does it they're going to try to push it to Tua. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to do it to push it to Tua. But I think the NFL world will realize everything Tyreek Hill did for Tua and how he earned to get that. Like, this guy's wide open, he's just wide open. It's any quarterback can throw these touchdowns to him. He's literally wide open. And to me, it seems like defenses still question Tua and his ability, and it's just continuing to work. If they question Tua and his ability, this guy's gonna continue to break open, and it's gonna be long touchdowns. It just won't stop until that changes. I don't get it. To me, it's just working. So, like, Dan, it's crazy to me, man. You got to watch the Dolphins game. You got to see the evolution of Tua. Like, sometimes I go back and I'm like, I look at the Buffalo game and I look at the Eagle game and I'm like, man, if rookie or sophomore Tua would have played this game, we probably would have won, because the thing is, having Tyreek Hill, it hurts you sometimes. If it's too much and it doesn't come in that game and it's off, you're going to lose that game. You need Tyreek Hill on. And when he's on and he's popping, he's on fire, you're more than likely going to put up points. And when you shut him out, the Dolphins are going to get shut out. That's the reality, scary part about it. So I'm hoping for Tyreek Hill to continue this crazy success. But to me, it just feels like, one man can't take over the world,
Everything that you're saying, I actually completely agree with. Yeah, I was kind of setting you up there because Tyreek Hill is my MVP right now, and you have the highest scoring offense. And I think you're right. I think if you took Tua out, I keep in mind you would drop, and I don't think you would win those games. I mean, you'd probably beat the Raiders with Skylar Thompson. Played here at K-State, big fan of his. I don't want him starting 17 games, but could you put Skylar Thompson in against the Raiders and win? Yeah, you can do that. Are you going to beat Buffalo, the Jets, or Kansas City with Skylar Thompson? Absolutely not. But
did you see the playoff game from last year with Skylar Thompson?
He played good. He played good. He almost won.
He in my eyes, he won that game. Jalen Waddle dropped those passes, man.
I really like Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson is amazing.
State, and I watched a lot of him his year, and I didn't sit here and say he's an NFL quarterback, but he's a guy you want to pull for, and I think he's an excellent guy that you got as a backup quarterback. I thought the Mike White signing was also really, really good too. I thought that was a good idea because you got a guy who's only played, I think the maximum's 12 games in Tua. So getting a guy like Mike White and getting Skylar Thompson, I thought was smart. But there's been some Tua MVP talk, and I've been saying the same thing. It's not Tua, it's Tyreek Hill. Because of Tyreek Hill, you're getting Jalen Waddle some wide open looks. You nailed it. Me and you talked before the show. The Jalen Waddle touchdown against the Patriots, nobody's within 10 yards of him because of all the attention that you're giving to Tyreek Hill.
100%.
100%.
You saw it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw it. I didn't watch the whole game. I saw that clip, and when I watched that touchdown, I said to myself, "That's Tyreek Hill." And
that's Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill should be the MVP as of right now. I mean,
you could count that Jalen Waddle touchdown to Tyreek.
Exactly. That touchdown, Tyreek Hill. And when you said, 10 catches, 88 yards, that looks bad, but that opens up the rest of the offense. Um, I cringe when people say Tua should be an MVP candidate, and I don't want to take anything away from Tua, but Tyreek Hill deserves the MVP. He's the offense is scoring 33.9 points a game. That's on Tyreek Hill. You take Tyreek Hill out of that offense, they're not scoring 30 a game. You might be able to put another quarterback in there and get 30 plus. Didn't Skylar Thompson, what was it, 34-31 against the Bills last year? I'm off the top of my head.
That was the final score, but we did score one on defense, so he put up 24.
Yeah.
But with all the drops, and it wasn't like those drops that Jalen Waddle had were all on one drive. No, every single crucial drop, 40 plus, 50 plus yards drops, were all on separate drives that easily put them in field goal range minimum.
I know Waddle had a couple drops.
Yeah, he had 3 of them.
I remember he had a couple drops.
Tyreek Hill had 2.
And I can tell you this: he'll have a few drops, but he also does plays that nobody else in the NFL can do here. One Pride, the answer is yes. I'm gonna DM you about that. Chief Superfan says Chris Jones gets 2 sacks. One Pride says no way. I seriously, Waddle's going to get a lot of money, and he may get 25 plus million somewhere. It may just be a salary cap issue because, well, actually, this is Pete. I'm gonna throw this out at you. You watched Joe Burrow get 275. All right. If I'm right, Herbert got 256. Sooner or later, it's going to come contract time. What do you do with Tua there?
Look, if I'm the general manager if I'm the owner of the Miami Dolphins,
put on the owner's hat. What do
I'm putting on my owner hat right now, and I'm looking at what I see on Sunday, and I'm looking at a player in Jalen Waddle that is easily comparable to Tyreek Hill. You have the 2 best wide receivers in the NFL. You've seen this offense already with a different quarterback be able to put up points because of this lethal offense and this receivers that we have here. So you keep your receivers and you try to see if you can maybe get a different quarterback so you don't have to fall into paying a quarterback like Tua. Because if he's too easily comparable to Alex Smith, Dan. You had Alex Smith as a quarterback. He's too easily comparable to Jimmy Garoppolo. Their playbooks are very thin, and they have to have little gimmicky, tricky plays. You can't just play drop back and play quarterback with these guys. You're not going to win the shootouts. And in the NFL, especially the AFC, you have monsters like Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson. There's too many guys that can put up 30 to 40 plus points if you're going to try to go in a shootout with them. And to me, you take Tua out you take Tyreek Hill out the game, we're not scoring 40. We can't keep up with the powerhouses. And that's why I can't wait for this Sunday game, Dan. Sunday morning. It's going to be beautiful. It's a primetime game in my eyes. I don't know how you see it. To me, it's a primetime game.
I'm going to do play-by-play. It's going to be an absolute bitch because I'm going to wake up like around 7:30 or 8, which is I'm not a morning person, but I'm going to do play-by-play. But, I'm just really excited about this game. There's 4 teams that have 6-2 records in the AFC, and 2 of them play the first Sunday game. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game, but there is a way I see my team winning, Dan. I could tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm gonna read some comments here, and that was going to be my very next question. Chief Superfan says Miami's offensive attack is the pass game. McKenzie stops it. They'll probably run it effectively since our run defense is pretty weak. I want you to touch base on that here. The Shark Boss Molina, what a great name, man. What a great name. Cheers from El Paso, Texas. Oh, man. And I got Gooch, the talent in the house. He says he doesn't think it's going to be a shootout. He thinks it's going to be a lower score than people expect. Gooch, I predicted 31-27, and I know you 100% agree with that. Dan looks like Chief. You know what? Chief Superfan has a really good point here. If Kansas City can stop the passing attack, Do you really think that Miami can run the ball against the Chiefs defense?
If you're stopping the pass attack, that means you guys already stopped the run, because we're more of a try to run first offense. So everything revolves around the run. And if you guys are stopping the run, then we're not going to be able to pass. That's the tricky thing. We're not a drop back, just put it in shotgun and just gun it down people and fight like that. We will continue to use the play action, try to go off the run with the fullback. Alec Ingold even goes in motion as an extra chip blocker. A lot of little things. Like, if you guys, let me tell you, if the Chiefs go out, opening drive, put up 7, Dolphins find a way to get a flag, false start, the first drive stalls. You guys go down again and put up another touchdown. The Dolphins are done. They're done because they're not going to be able to play catch up football in one-dimensional pass happy offense. Then that's not they're the Miami Dolphins. Even though the whole world thinks Tua's an MVP quarterback and everything is working out great, let me tell you something, Dan. It's not going to work out without the use of the run or the scare of the run, because it's trying to show run first. On past plays, like I told you on this episode just a bit ago, on past plays, we have our guards pulling like it's a run. Why can't they just traditionally just line up, beat up the guy in front of you, block for your guy so he can pass? A lot of little things are too gimmicky and tricky in this offense. Plus, is something that I've always didn't really like about the Chiefs offense, by the way, so correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of the times when I'm watching Mahomes, this is one thing that I think is too much on our side in Miami. It's too much side football, side to side football. Too many screens, too many, it's just too many side to side gimmicky football. And I just, Mahomes does it a lot, right? Just too much side to side football. He dumps it down and a lot of screens.
Is a lot of times on 3rd and 1 he'll try to get too cute, and when it works you call him a genius. But he like that's an Andy Reid staple, and that's an excellent observation, because that's something that Andy Reid's always loved to do. You go back to Philly, he did the same thing. He wants to use the whole field instead of just, like 3rd and 1, he wants to run a screen. He wants to throw the ball.
He wants to get that 1 yard.
Exactly. He wants to do that sprint right. But I mean, we had a coach. I'm not sure how old you are, but we had a coach in the 90s, Marty Schottenheimer, on 3rd and 1. You knew what the play was going to be. It was going to be a run right up the middle, but it worked most of the time. That 3rd and 1 was good. Now the rest of the day, if you scored more than 20 points, it was like it was like the Dolphins scoring 70. It didn't happen very often, but you saw it every once in a while. One Pride says you can cut Hill, who's older. Well, Waddle's contract is up. If I'm correct, it's not this year, it's next year. I think they can do the franchise next year. But Hill's under contract for another couple years. Waddle, you have to figure out what to do either this offseason or next offseason. And Waddle's going to be expensive.
I think the one that's in question right now with the contract in Miami is the quarterback Tua. That's the pressure.
That was just genius what you said. And you had a show on this summer, and you guys all talked about Stephen Ross, the owner, who loses a draft pick and doesn't even get the guy. Where Arizona, they lost a draft pick, but they still got their guy. I thought it was the wrong guy, but you just kind of blasted Stephen Ross. Let me ask you so I sent, by the way, if you come on my show, I send you a list of questions. I'm asking Pete a question here that I didn't, so I'm throwing him a curveball here. Right here in the draft, right? Last year you had, I think, 4 draft picks, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel about drafting a quarterback round 1? Just throwing a rookie out there and saying, look, we'll move on from Tua. We can get some extra draft capital. We're going to keep this offense intact. The offensive line is going to be better. We're going to keep Waddle. We're just going to go with a different guy at quarterback. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that will be – I feel like the owner should listen to Dan's football show right now, and I feel like that's what he should do. There's no real hate on Tua. He's a nice guy, but when it comes to this league, you need a leader. You need someone that's going to be able to, when your guys are down, pick them up. And right now, he just doesn't have the ability for those things. And he doesn't have the arm strength. Despite what the media tries to portray with, oh, you see, he does throw it far, blah, blah. Listen, he doesn't have a strong arm. You know, he can't fit it through certain windows. He knows what he can and can't do. And so far, like I said, Dan, it's shocking. It's working. I'm proud of him. But that's one thing as a fan, I am scared of the owner moving pieces like Waddle, or like the dude said in your chat. I don't recall his name, but he said cut Hill because he's older. Listen to who we might. You're thinking about putting money down on Tyreek Hill right now, I bet, Dan. So for him to win the MVP, and now we're gonna have to cut this guy next year because we have to pay Waddle, and this guy's in an MVP. No,
Well, I mean,
bro.
look what
You
you got Herbert, who got, I think it was 256, and then a month or two later, Burrow gets 275. So the trend would be Tua making, realistically, his agent's probably pushing for a 5-year, 300 million, 60 million a year. Me and you, I think we're on the same page. I guarantee you his agent is talking to Stephen Ross going, well, that's the
Joe
trend.
Burrow is in an MVP conversations 2 years in a row. Justin Herbert is in an MVP conversations 2 years in a row. His agent is selling it. And I hope he sells it to where it gets sold to Seattle next to Hawaii. And he can play in Seattle and take Geno's spot. And let Seattle Seahawks pay him the big $500 million 10-year deal. That's what Seattle should do. Seattle should be listening.
You know what?
Right
I could actually see Pete Carroll moving on from Geno Smith, a guy I've never been sold on, and getting a guy like Tua and making that big mega deal. And you know what? You would end up getting some draft picks too.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Seattle would be destroyed.
I think that would work. Now, don't get me wrong. He may not have immediate success. But, I mean, take a look at what Will Levis has done in Tennessee. It's apples and oranges. I mean, the Tennessee offense and Miami's offense could not be more different. Levis injected something in Tennessee's offense. I could see a rookie quarterback coming in. Because one thing about Miami that you nailed, and now I think the same thing, is that they used to run to set up the pass. They're a run-first team. A lot of people don't think that, but that's exactly what Miami is. It's the old Shanahan system. It's the old.
It's a run-first scheme.
Exactly. So you had what was it? Mike Shanahan in Washington. He had Kyle Shanahan, his son, who's now the head coach, in San Francisco. He had, I'm 38 minutes in. I'm having a brain freeze. The guy for the Rams, Sean McVay. Sean McVay was on that coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDaniel,
Matt LaFleur from Green Bay.
Matt LaFleur was on that coaching staff. So, and if you look at all four of those teams, it's the same thing. A lot of people really just get caught up because you see the highlights of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Miami's a running team. Getting a young quarterback, I think, would be smart. If I'm you and I'm Miami and Tua gets that 5-year, $300 million deal, which is a possibility, I would be pissed.
That's messed up, Dan, but I agree.
I can see it happening, man.
That is, look, for me to be satisfied with it, he's going to have to win the Super Bowl this season. I'll be okay with it. Win the Super Bowl. And then I'll be okay with it. But if we miss the playoffs, and I know it's shocking to be like, Pete, how do you think you're going to miss the playoffs if we're 6-2? Last year, let me tell you something. Last year, we were 8-3. By the time we were 8-3, Tua already missed games in between that as well. So we were already 8-3, rolling high already starting in December. And then what happened?
I forgot about that.
Listen. Tua, the people don't. If you're not a Dolphin fan, you're not gonna remember. Tua in December last year was 0-4 to end the season, and that final game versus Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, he played the full game. He came in Monday morning. He reported himself into concussion with symptom concussions, and we never saw him again until this year, dude. It was the most fishy, tricky situation I ever saw. Look what happened with Brock Purdy this following week, dude. He reported himself with concussions on that Tuesday, not even Monday, on Tuesday, and he came back to play the following week. He never even missed a week.
For those of you who don't remember, Tua was in that concussion protocol for like months. It was like February or March I mean, it was really weird what was going on with Tua, and I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot about it. But
100%.
it
That's
was
what
a
had me
very
this off
weird thing.
season like so
I
tripped out.
seriously was worried about the guy, and I was sitting there wondering, look, I mean, because you don't have a first round draft pick, so you can't
Yep.
draft a quarterback. But I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, well, so you roll out Mike White, roll out Skylar Thompson. I forget when you signed Mike White, but
Early in the off season.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe you want to bring back Bridgewater. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I mean,
I would have preferred that.
I mean, he's from the area.
Yeah,
He's from. I don't remember where in Florida he played high school at, but I mean, he's from the area.
he grew up from my area right there in
Really?
Opelika, Miami Gardens. Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Like there's the backup quarterback in Seattle, Drew Lock. He went to the same high school I did. So I keep saying,
nice.
I like the dude. Yeah, I like the guy.
You know that Drew. I would like Drew Lock in Miami. You see what I'm saying? Like instead of paying Tua that 5-year, $300 million, you said I would get Drew Lock on a 2-year, $20 million.
You know, last year he was neck and neck with Geno Smith, and he caught COVID during preseason. So who do you got to go with? You got the guy who can't do anything for a couple weeks, and it was like week 2 of preseason. Like the first preseason game was already played. Pete Carroll didn't know what to do. One dude that gets COVID, Geno Smith ends up playing, and you know, give Geno Smith a lot of credit. He's playing well, but I really thought that, you know, Drew Lock, I swear up and down, if Drew Lock got the start over Bridgewater in Denver, everybody doesn't get fired. And you can't prove me wrong because everybody did get fired. They went with Bridgewater instead. Chief Superfan has a fantastic question here for you, Pete. Is Tua good against the blitz?
Is Tua good against the blitz? Actually, I don't know what the stats say right now, but it's not even that if Tua is good against the blitz, it's the scheme and the offense that's set up with Tua that he's going to more than likely be better against the blitz if the read is correct than if you don't blitz. And because everything is going to be formed on a quick pass. So if you blitz Tua, you're really not going to get there, because you're blitzing him for no reason, because it's set up as a quick pass regardless. That's the tricky thing about it. So he might be doing good statistically against the blitz this year because of the quick pass offense that we have. So it has been looking good.
That's a Kansas City staple is Steve Spagnuolo loves the blitz. I actually think that against Miami, which I'm expecting is because of the speed, is I really think that you're not going to see as much blitzing, but that's going to be kind of an interesting chess match.
That's better if you don't blitz and you stand your ground.
I really don't think we will. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Chiefs are a blitz heavy team, but
yes, you guys are.
Against Miami, this is what I'm doing is that we got some speedy linebackers are good in pass coverage. I'm looking at a banged up offensive line. I'm looking at the Chiefs defensive line as the strength of the defense, really the strength of the team this year. And I think that my 4 can beat your 5. And we'll rotate a lot of guys in there and we'll get creative.
Your guy's middle linebacker, he's a little bit overrated, but he was your best linebacker that got hurt.
Nick
Bolton.
Yeah, he's out. We signed, which looks like a genius move. We signed Drew Tranquil from the Chargers. We gave him a 2-year, $8 million. This has been kind of a strange thing, is that the Chiefs quietly have kind of switched from a 4-3 defense to like a 3-4 hybrid. This offseason, we kept 6 linebackers on the roster. Last year, we only had 4. And it looks like what we're doing now, we got this guy, Leo Chenal, that we're using as a middle linebacker, as a defensive end, outside linebacker. We're kind of moving him around like a chess piece. But
that's the guy McDaniel's gonna eat alive.
Well,
if you're moving that guy around to line, McDaniel's gonna eat him alive.
We're not going to have him covering those wide receivers. I'm really expecting him to play as a defensive end.
You think he's going to cover like the fullback?
I hope
tight
he does
end?
no covering. I don't want Leo Chenal to cover anything against that Miami.
Knowing McDaniel, that's his advantage point right there on 3rd and 4, on 3rd and 6. Those are the plays he will call. Throw it to Engel, to covering him, or throw it to Smythe, whoever that guy's covering. You don't like Tua?
One Friday. That is a good question here. So you don't like Tua, Pete?
I don't trust his skill set. That's just the reality of it.
And by the way, one pride, you're 100% correct. It's not that he's looking bad. He's injury prone. He does have some limitations. He doesn't have that big time arm. Every time he makes a big, by the way, like he had one deep pass they kept on showing over and over again. It was like he had to wind up like all the way back like this for, you know, a quarter like Mahomes and Josh Allen are throwing it like this. You know, he's got to go all the way back and you know, he got that long completion. It's like great, and no, Tua is not bad, but Pete's 100% correct that you don't want to hamstring your team giving this guy $300 million. I'll be honest, I think it's going to backfire with the Bengals giving Burrow 275.
Burrow at least can see the field, Dan. At least he's tall enough. He sees the field. You know, he does have arm strength. It's not as powerful as, like you said, Allen and Mahomes.
No.
But at the same time, he's a good field observer, and his pocket presence is like no other. He has good
I agree with everything you're saying.
But but I do agree, like, if
start losing,
Burrow's arm strength is still a question.
Well, I mean, you have some injury issues, and then once that contract kicks in, you're going to lose players. For example, we lost Tyreek Hill. We wanted Tyreek Hill here in Kansas City. Chiefs fans love Tyreek Hill. Chiefs fans are going to, you know, say that, oh, you know, Kansas City fans try to make it sound like we didn't like Tyreek Hill. We love Tyreek Hill. We love that guy. We wanted him here, but we gave Mahomes $500 million. You know, we got Chris Jones. We got to pay Travis Kelce. We gave a lot of money after we lost to the Bucs in the Super Bowl. We loaded up on offensive linemen. We couldn't afford to give Tyreek Hill $30 million. That was it. That was the only problem. We actually had a contract set up. Tyreek Hill was getting ready to sign, and then Devontae Adams got $30 million, and Tyreek Hill's looking at that contract and wisely did this move. This was smart by Tyreek Hill, and said, I'm better than Devontae Adams. I want to get more money. And there's no state taxes in Florida. So Tyreek Hill lived when he had that incident. I don't know if you heard about that incident, that the second incident here in Kansas City. There were some issues, legal issues, ended up being a false report. But he lives in a place called Overland Park, Kansas, which is where I am right now. It's like 10% tax. Like you go to Walmart, there's no state tax in Florida. You go to Walmart, you buy $100 worth of stuff at Walmart, you pay $100. Here in Overland Park, you go to Walmart, you buy $100 worth of stuff, you pay $110.
Yeah, it's the same thing here.
Oh, you do? Okay, I thought there was no state tax in Florida.
When it comes to like different situations, like
I was going to say, but I mean, like, you know, people make it sound like Tyreek Hill's this bad dude. No, the Chiefs wanted him. It wasn't a situation where the Chiefs wanted to get rid of the guy. It's just he wanted more money in Devontae Adams. We couldn't pay him. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Joe Burrow. He's not going to keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson and all those guys. They're going to lose players. And if you sign Tua to $300 million, which is, if his agent's smart, he's looking at the current contracts, and that's kind of what you're looking at, somewhere between $250 and $300 million. So one pride, your comment, he's not looking bad. No, he's looking fine.
If you actually look at a lot of football games, right? Because I watch a lot of the games, most primetime games, obviously, but the games that are non-market games that are like on a DraftKings slate, and I want to see the game, so I watch it condensed. And when I'm looking around the league, like big names, Justin Fields early on in the season, I'm remembering now, even Jordan Love this season, it feels like the Packers don't trust him to throw, and it feels like a lot of these quarterbacks, Daniel Jones right before he got hurt, like the little simple things that Tua's doing so efficient. Tua, the easy things, he's taking it with butter. You see what I'm saying? And these other quarterbacks, it seems like the easy things are so tough for them. Even they have no limitations. They have the strongest arms in the world. It's just like some of the simplest things. Just throw it to the running back in the flat. He's open. These other quarterbacks wouldn't do it on time. It's just a bad timing thing.
Daniel a lot with that. I think that what he's doing offensively is really smart, and I think that what he did is he came into a system and he said, "Okay, this is my quarterback." McDaniel didn't draft Tua.
No, he did.
And that's one thing I think that McDaniel deserves a lot of credit. He's like, well, what does he do well? Okay, well, he's an accurate guy, doesn't have a big arm. So what am I going to do? I'm going to load up this track team and I'm going to throw quick rhythm passes, which is to his strength, and utilize to run after the catch.
McDaniel also lucked into Tyreek Hill.
Well, yeah,
he didn't expect to have Tyreek Hill.
Let me ask you this here. Again, this is another curveball question because I thought it was a brilliant move, but I don't think it's worked out so far. But what about Chase Claypool? What's he doing there? Because I remember the Bears, they gave up what ended up being the 33rd pick in the draft, which the Steelers ended up getting Joey Porter Jr., who's starting and playing some pretty good ball right now. You got him, what was it, 6th round pick? 7th, something like that. You got him for almost nothing.
Pretty much.
You got him almost. Is he doing anything? Because I thought that was a genius move by the Dolphins, getting a guy with a lot of potential, who's a bigger body, who may be able to help out. But as far as I know, he's barely played.
He's barely played because he's fresh into the system. He looks like he's going to be used more as a run blocker than anything else. So it's almost like having the Dolphins in a one-dimensional state of mind. When Tyreek and Waddle are out, you know the team is going to run the ball. You see what I'm saying? But when Tyreek Hill and Waddle are in, you know we're going to pass the ball. And then you're not going to see Claypool much. So it's a tricky scenario with that, Dan, honestly. Well, so it's not looking bad.
I was kind of curious here. So, let me ask.
I don't expect much out of Claypool. It's so Hill-centric. Hill is on pace for this 2000. He is a man of his word. You could tell he's that type of character. And Dan, 2 weeks ago, it's, I think it was like second and I forget the down and distance. But he goes and he's the one that tells Tua to change the play with a signal so he can get the fly touchdown. Like, it was against the Patriots. So he can get the fly touchdown. No, it might have been. He got the fly touch. I think it was against the Eagles. And the flying touchdown, he got the bomb on the right side of the field. He changed the play. He told Tua to change it to this play. And Tua changed the play and threw it to Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill said so. Where else you're getting her at? How is this guy not MVP, Dan? Did you hear what I'm saying?
He's my pick as MVP because I 100% agree with you. And I was really wondering when you were going to come on this show. I was kind of curious if you were going to tell me that Tua deserves MVP. And he's the reason why the Dolphins offense, because when I watch the Dolphins, I'm seeing everything revolve around Tyreek Hill. 33.9 points a game. That's one of the greatest offensive performances of all time. I think
it's a lot to do with it with Denver. 70 against Denver.
I think it was done in the 50s or something.
Let me ask you a question, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a serious question right now.
All right.
Under Mahomes' era, how many times have you guys lost 2 games in a row?
I don't think it's ever happened. I really don't. I really don't. I really don't. And Mahomes gets a lot of credit for it, but the guy that I think deserves maybe not just as much, but I think it's underrated, if you can believe it or not, is Travis Kelce. I think people don't understand that Travis Kelce kind of makes everything revolve around. And I loved when Tyreek Hill was here because Tyreek Hill's last 2 years, he was wide receiver number 1. Kelce's wide receiver number 2. And, when Tyreek Hill left, well, Kelce, he's called a tight end in name only, but I've been saying for the last, 6-7 years, Travis Kelce plays wide receiver. You can call him whatever you want. He's wide receiver number 1.
You know what he is to me?
What's up?
He's one of the smartest players alive, dude.
Yes.
It's either him, because if you look at the way he runs routes, he's not a sharp route runner.
No.
He's a spot runner. He's running to spots. He understands what the defense is doing to him, and he eats it alive. People sit here and say, "Oh, why don't they man?" Yeah, you want to man up a tight end? You're putting one of your best corners in the game to stop a tight end. You're already taking an L from that standpoint. You get what I'm saying? So you can't.
I'm surprised
And
you know this much about the Chiefs offense. I'm actually pretty floored because you're nailing it perfectly.
it's because I like I said, I watch most of the games, throughout the week, condensed, and there's just little things like I'm shocked that Tua, to me, looks better than a lot of these other quarterbacks. Like, if you look across the league, the stats say it, but it's because of the little things that's happening, how perfectly timed the plays are. This guy runs every play on time, Dan, and he hits on it. That's a coach's dream. That's a coach's dream.
And I want to give McDaniel a lot of credit for that.
He gets all the credit.
McDaniel's just done an A+ job coming in, because I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, I don't know if that guy is going to be an NFL head coach. I was a little skeptical first time I met him, but he's been really impressive. And I mentioned this once before. Don't forget, the Dolphins did not have a first-round draft pick this year. That's a big loss. That's a big loss. They'll have one. They'll have one in the 2024 draft in April. And I'm kind of with you. And hopefully I can get you to come back on during draft time, and we can both say, hey, look, let's have some fun, and let's get the Dolphins a quarterback in round one.
Look, I believe in Skylar Thompson. I don't know if you know. So
I like the kid. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, but I like a lot of him at K-State, and I really
when I'm looking at the situation the Dolphins are in, he doesn't have a limited arm. The guy has a powerful arm. His only thing is he's what, 6'1". I like him to be a little bit taller, but he has a perfect skill set, nice arm. He's humble. And if you can build around his cheap contract, he was almost Mr. Irrelevant. He gets paid the same amount as Brock Purdy. So if you're out there, you can bring in more talent and build around this rookie who was a 7th rounder with this, because this guy was projected to be a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick if it wasn't for his shoulder injury that last year. He's back. He's fully healthy. I believe in that prospect. That's just one thing.
That's just exactly what San Francisco did. And I could see Miami doing that, is saying, look, let's look for a cheap option and just load our talent up. And by the way, when Kansas City won the Super Bowl against San Francisco, that's exactly what they did. They had all this other talent, and then Mahomes under a rookie contract. Even though it's $500 million, it's actually a team-friendly contract the way it's set up. But I won't go into a ton of detail about that. Let me ask you this here. How does Miami beat Kansas City in Germany on Sunday? Draw it up. How will the Dolphins win this game?
Oh, there is a good way.
All right.
Being that is in Germany, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can see penalties being called, hurting the Mahomes. Mahomes is not a perfect timing quarterback. He doesn't. Andy Reid calls a play. He doesn't hit that play every time. He breaks the play a lot of the times. He scrambles, and that's where we want to get Mahomes, to break the play. Once he breaks the play, get him to move around, scramble, and that'll be the best scenario for us to play hectic football. We want to see hectic Mahomes, not comfortable, not hitting all his reads. And I think Vic Fangio, he hasn't been blitzing much, which I think is good. I think if he turns it up and kind of switches it up and blitzes a lot on Mahomes, because when we played Mahomes with the Dolphins Tua's rookie year, that was with Flores. We harassed him. We made him look pedestrian at times, even though he came back. But he threw 3 interceptions.
You had to lead in the fourth quarter. You had to lead in the fourth quarter.
Yes, we did. And that was heavy blitzing by Flores. And I think that's the recipe. If you can blitz them and you got man-on-man good coverage with these corners, we should blitz Mahomes a lot. Hopefully get him out of the pocket and sack him. And that's the way I think we're going to be able to beat you guys, is limit you guys from having, making it more long-distance scenarios than short distance. Because if you guys are consistently 3rd and short, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, you guys are going to eat that alive all game. We want 3rd and long distance. I know that's easy to say, but I think that's the only way, honestly, we're going to be able to beat you guys.
Well,
It's
Vic
just having
Fangio
you guys.
had success when he was the head coach at Denver. I think that he would still be the head coach in Denver if he played Drew Lock over Teddy Bridgewater, because Bridgewater was limited. Drew Lock was the younger quarterback, but much more talented. And I'll stand by that from now to the end of time. But one thing that he always did a good job is he was always good at limiting Mahomes.
You see the situation with Vic Fangio and that whole scenario you're bringing up. The Broncos just recently sold, so there was too much in their head right there to try to build or keep anything going. The owner was thinking selling already.
Well, what the drill is they were trying to bring Aaron Rodgers in, so they brought in the head coach that Aaron Rodgers wanted. He's I forgot his name. I should know it, but anyway, he's the offensive coordinator with Jets right now. So they signed him. And they thought, they just assumed Aaron Rodgers would sign with them, but Aaron Rodgers, didn't want to come to Denver for whatever reason, and so they settled for Russell Wilson. I tried telling people Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers is not the same thing. This isn't going to work, trust me. And I got to go down to Denver, great sports town. I don't know if you've ever been to Denver, but fantastic sports town, great fans, great organization, but they really thought that Russell Wilson would bring them a Super Bowl. And I'm like, it's not going to work. Just trust me.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. I was adamant, like you guys got swindled. But it maybe things will work with Sean Payton. Big win against us last week, but you kind of nailed it. We haven't lost 2 in a row under Mahomes. So I kind of
You guys are going to be on fire. You guys are embarrassed. You guys were the laughing stock all week. Mahomes, and now the narrative, because the narrative on the Kansas City articles were, oh, how did Mahomes lose to the Broncos and the Dolphins beat them? The Broncos beat them by 50 or something like that. I was reading. So it was kind of like a laughing stock type of article it was in Kansas City, making fun of you guys. And it was funny to me. I was like, this type of article, if Mahomes reads it, he's going to come out and throw 5 or 6 touchdowns versus us to prove a point. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
I get exactly.
We lost to a bad team, but now this is one of the best teams in the NFL, right? And we just spanked them like this. This is what I see happening, Dan. I'm telling you. My outcome of this game, I think these guys are in Germany mad. The Dolphins are coming off a victory, a division win. They're happy. They already said Tyreek Hill's over there for business and all this crap. Like, trust me, bro, this is looking like a crapshoot, in my opinion, from my side. I think Mahomes is going to take care of business. It might be a 38. Man, I want to give us more points than I'm saying, but it might be a 38-17 type game.
I'm gonna stick with 31-27 because I think that Miami will get. I think Tyreek Hill is going to get at least 1 touchdown. I think he'll get some yards, but I just see the Chiefs' defensive line against a banged up offensive line. This is my buddy Tim. He's got a great question here for you, Pete. He goes, "What's up, guys? Do you think all the media coverage in Germany and all the hype with Kelsey and his love life is going to be a problem in this game?" Because I haven't seen too much of this myself, but I'll let you know, Pete, here in Kansas City, everybody loves Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. And when I say everybody, I mean only me. Everybody hates this thing. My buddy Keith,
I wish my quarterback had Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I love it.
Every owner right now in the NFL wish they had Taylor Swift in their stadium.
I know. I love it. I think it's awesome. My buddy Keith sent me something where the founder of the Church of Satan looks just like Taylor Swift. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's up? You're sending me DMs that she looks like the founder of the Church of Satan. What's with this hate of Taylor Swift? But
I don't get it. I think it's awesome. And then you got Taylor Swift hanging out with Patrick Mahomes' wife.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I can't get enough of it. I love it, but I am the only person in Kansas City. It has just been awful. But my buddy Tim does, do you think Kelsey's love life and all the hype and the craziness, is this going to be a problem for the Kansas City Chiefs this week?
Not really. And it's funny because you know how Twitter is. People, I don't know, you can't believe every stat you see, but sometimes it could be funny. So I did read a stat that it said when Taylor Swift shows up to the games, his numbers are so crazy. And when Taylor Swift don't show, I'll have to look for it.
You might have
I'll
sent
have
me
to
that
look for it.
because
So
I
I
know
don't know if it's
exactly. Yeah. By the way, everybody, Life's a Gamble. I have Pete's Twitter handle in the description below. He has some really great stuff. Make sure you follow it. Not only subscribe to his YouTube channel, which
I'm
is
just a
really
Dolphin
cool,
hater, guys.
and subscribe to his YouTube channel because here it is. He's a Dolphin fan. He's got this awesome Pete 01 jersey, and he's giving it to you real. And this is kind of the reason why he does sports betting. This is why I want him on the show because he's giving you he's giving you great information. He's not coming on like some guests I've had with the homerisms and Dolphins are going to put up 85. You know, he's not doing that shit. So I mean, you're getting some really good.
I mean, you want to hear Pete be like that? Then we come out Sunday, beat the Chiefs, and beat a real team. If not, Pete is Pete A. Smith. Pete A. Smith out here on my own team, man. This guy, it's been a long time. You know, I've been following football. I was born and raised in Miami, Dan. And then I really, like around 10 years old, 11 years old, I started getting in the streets, playing football, and then getting to the parks and playing all that stuff. So that's when I started falling in love and watching football. So around 11, in 2001, I was like 11 years old, you know, and that's really when I started watching 2000, 2001, right when Marino retired. I started loving my Dolphins. We never had a quarterback ever since. I never really get to see Marino era. I never saw it. So I'm just a mad Dolphin fan that's been mad for the last 20 plus years. And now it just doesn't seem real, Dan. It does not seem real.
You can call me grandpa after this statement. It was played in 81, but it was the 1980 season. What made me a football fan for life is maybe the greatest divisional round game in NFL history. The San Diego Chargers go down to the Orange Bowl, play the Dolphins. They get a 24-0 lead. Miami comes back, ties it up with the hook and ladder, goes down. Miami has a chance to win the game. Last play of the game, Kellen Winslow blocks the extra point. And then in overtime, Chargers.
Wow.
Yeah, 1981, maybe the greatest playoff game of all time. I watched it. I was 7 years old. So I'm an old man. Ever since that Dolphins Chargers game, I have been addicted to football like a crackhead. I watched Dan Marino's whole career. So you got at the end. I watched his whole career. I did a live stream.
I saw the playoff game versus the Jaguars, and at halftime, I walked out of my buddy's house.
The sprinklers went off.
Yeah. I went a 62-something meltdown. I left by halftime. I was gone. I didn't want to watch it. I was like, football is boring.
Marino's last game and Jimmy Johnson's last game, and it's such a shame because I had Marino top 10 quarterbacks of all time. I had him number 5, and I almost feel like that's too low because I watched his whole career is nothing short of amazing, and but I have a soft spot in my heart for the Dolphins. I always
one thing I have done, especially like looking at all his games that I have out, because on YouTube there's a lot of Dan Marino games, full games you can watch. A lot of highlights.
Watch the fake spike. Did you watch the full fake spike game?
Yeah, that game was crazy. He
does that against Aaron Glenn, who's the defensive coordinator for the Lions now, probably going to be a head coach after this season. But yeah, he picks on Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, and it's just the way he flicked the wrist and got the ball downfield so quick is something that, you know, quarterbacks wish they can do. Mahomes is doing that. Like some of the things that Mahomes does when he does a sidearm, you have to look at it twice. That's why every time there's a replay on even a basic 6-yard throw, oh, look at Mahomes on this sidearm throw. It was just like sometimes it's because of the pressure and everything going on.
I can do that as well. Something went down the wrong pipe here, but I can go back and watch old school Miami Dolphins and Dan Marino all day. I mean, him and the Marx Brothers. I watch a lot of that stuff live, showing my age a little bit. But God, I cannot tell you how much fun it is to watch Dan Marino, and I can always go back and watch some Dan Marino clips. Chief Superfan says KC deserves an NBA team. Showing my age again. The Sacramento teams were in Kansas City. I wouldn't mind, but they did have one and they lost it. Hattershouse 710 says, "What's up, fellas? Go Lions! I have Tua as my fantasy quarterback who fits by."
I depending on who you have on the bench, I'll probably tell you to switch. It's just too much on plate, man. You got Andy Reid, who played with Alex Smith, who knew how to utilize Tyreek Hill. He's gonna know how to stop that. So I feel like Tyreek Hill this week in fantasy is not gonna be a good play. I feel like Tua might not be a good play. And I feel like the only way the Dolphins are gonna win this game is if the defense and Vic Fangio shuts you guys down. Low scoring game, and somehow we win with a field goal. In Germany, they like to kick soccer balls, and
Yeah.
they're going to be happy with field goal. Especially if it's a big field goal game, all the field goals kicked over there this week. That's how I see the Dolphins could potentially win if we hold you guys to more field goals than touchdowns for sure.
It's kind of funny that you say that. I actually think that the Dolphins can win this game by just the opposite and making it a shootout. And just making this into a track meet where Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle go off, and that they have to go score for score. That's kind of how I see Miami doing it. But keep in mind,
but if you're talking about the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell, who's never had to deal with an Alex Smith and a Tyreek Hill and scheme on that. You see what I'm saying? Like Andy Reid had to scheme with Alex Smith and Tyreek Hill because he knew Alex Smith's limitations. He knew what he can do with this guy. He knew where to get the ball. There's certain route concepts that Tua's only going to be able to throw to Tyreek Hill, and he knows that. And I feel like if he fails and Tua does go off, then there's something going on in Kansas City. To be quite honest with you, Andy Reid isn't doing a good job.
Seriously, that's kind of what I see. I could see just Miami.
Who's your defensive coordinator right now? Spagnuolo, right?
Spags, yeah. And that's the only way you have a good point. Make us into an ugly game where the Dolphins, but the one thing is that our kicker's not missed the kick all year, and he nailed a 60-yarder it's Denver, but still 60 yards in Mile High. So.
That's perfect. That's going to work in our favor because how McDaniel has been playing it this year, we're an aggressive team. We're going to skip the field goal and go for it on fourth down.
Exactly. That's how Miami wins this game is that you're aggressive, you put up points, you win the turnover battle. And our wide receivers right now have been just a real. I was really high. I was buying into the Sky Moore hype all off season. I thought he was going to be 1,000-yard receiver. I had Luke G, a Lions fan, come on my show, and he's talking about how bad our receivers are. And I'm like, no, Sky Moore, he's going to be 1,000-yard receiver. You watch it. Rasheed Rice is going to get better, but I was all aboard Sky Moore, and I'm like kind of mad. Hattershouse 710.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Dolphins fans in LA. This is awesome. So you're in LA. I got Pete in Miami, so I got fans coast to coast. This is just freaking awesome. North Miami Senior High rep here. Google that shit, man. Welcome. Google that shit, man. I've driven
North Miami Senior High School. Yeah, that's down the street. He knows. Central High School was down the street from my house. So
I've driven.
I didn't go to Central. I went to Hialeah, but he knows.
I've driven through Florida. I've never got to hang out there. Denver Gator I haven't seen him here. He's on the Alabama Florida panhandle. He's 10 minutes from the Bama border, but he's in Florida. He told me I can sleep on his floor, so I have to buy him. I'm looking forward to that. Tim nailed it too. He says sounds like you're a legit great guest. Tim, subscribe to Pete's channel. I listened to a couple of his shows this summer, and he had some great takes on Stephen Ross and Fangio and everything. It's a really good channel. So his question is, why did Marino never win a Super Bowl?
So this is a good question. I don't have the answer for it, but in the Miami Dolphins community, I've asked some great guys. They have their own Dolphin shows, and they're older than I am, and they've watched the 72 undefeated Dolphins. So there's a guy in the community called Crypto, and there's another dude called Color, and this guy they said the run game. They always say it was never a run game, never a defense. They always blame the defense in a run game. Every Marino game was always a shootout.
No. I can tell you. I can tell you the same thing. If you watch, well, first of all, the '84 Super Bowl, that 49ers team, I did list top 10 Super Bowls of all time. That '84 Niners team is one of the 10 best Super Bowl teams of all time. That team was loaded. They were 15-1. All four of their secondary players made the Pro Bowl that year. All four of them. I mean, so you're going against a pass-heavy team that doesn't run the ball, and you're going against Joe Montana, Roger Craig, and they had a guy named Wendell Tyler. He's not a Hall of Famer, but really good running back. And it was just a bad matchup. The next year,
in middle school, I read a book. I'm sorry to cut you off. In middle school, I read a book, and it was about the Dolphins. I just don't remember what year it was, right? Mm-hmm. And it was in a playoff game. I believe it was the '84 year. I don't want to sit here and say I'm right. You could fact check it or not. I just don't know what year it was. It was a playoff loss that the Dolphins were the speed team and the Jets were the physical team. Oh, no, I think it was the opposite. I think the Jets were the speed team and the Dolphins that year were the more physical team, and the Jets beat us with speed. And early on in the offseason, and they beat us in the playoffs, and they were the speed team, and they beat us by luck or whatever happened. And then early on in this offseason, I told the community it's going to be a reverse. Now that we're the speed team, because remember, I was predicting Aaron Rodgers to play the whole year. I was like, Aaron Rodgers in the playoff is going to beat us up, man. We're the fast team. And now it's like deja vu backwards, man. What's going to happen to us?
I remember that year that you're referring
I want to say it was like a 92. It was something I read in middle school, and it kind of stuck, but I just don't remember the year right now.
So in '85, you were the only team to beat the Bears, and you beat them on Monday night, and you were a heavy favorite in the AFC Championship game. You played the Patriots, and I think you beat them both times. And it was just one of those games where everything that the Dolphins that could go wrong. The Dolphins should have won the back-to-back Super Bowls in '84 and '85. Now maybe you lose against the '85 Bears, but those two teams were good enough to win a Super Bowl. It's just you went against. You had this weird. It was one of. If you don't watch it, it'll probably make you sad. But I mean, you played it.
I have watched it.
Better.
I did. It's actually on YouTube. You can watch it.
You were so much better in that Patriots team that lost 46-10 in the Super Bowl. It was just one of those games where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and it was such a shame because you had this great Bears team. The only team that they lost to all season was the Dolphins. They should have played in the Super Bowl. It would have been a great game. Miami might have won. You never know. And so that's early in the year, Tim. That 92.
He might have never won a Super Bowl, by the way, Tim, but I'm proud he made it to a Super Bowl. That's why I love my Dan Marino. I got a whole bunch of Dan Marino cards.
I love Dan Marino. I almost feel terrible that on my top 10 quarterbacks of all time, I got him at 5.
Never got to watch that guy play live, but growing up in Miami, all you heard growing up in Miami, that's the only guy you heard. Dan Marino.
Good. And if you never got a chance to watch him play, I mean, he never got sacked. He had the best release I've ever seen in my entire life. It was just crazy. And receivers will tell you, they look up at the jumbotron and they'd be 40 yards downfield, and Marino would hold on to the ball, and then you blink your eyes and the ball hits you in the chest. I mean, it was just crazy. Hattershouse says he can't risk it. Well, hey, listen. Pete sounds more like a Chiefs fan than a Dolphins fan. This is why I've been really wanting Pete on my show.
That hurts.
And is that Chiefs super fan? I try to bring on guests that are able to think logically and aren't going to sit here. I had UCF Jaguar come on, and Jags fan. He predicted Chiefs would beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I tried to bring on people that aren't homers, and even though I am a Chiefs fan, I try to be objective. Am I completely objective? No, of course I'm not. But
I'm truly like me knowing you and watching your channel and hearing like your bets and stuff for a while now. I'm kind of shocked you're giving us 27 points. Then that is, to me, it has me looking at the game a little differently, because I think this is going to be a 20-point max type game, and that'll be lucky. I don't think we have. I know it's so, but I just think Andy Reid is focused in on stopping Tyreek Hill, and I believe if you stop Tyreek Hill, that's the whole offense you're stopping. You're just eliminating it, and that's what I think is going to happen on Sunday. I think you guys are going to win big. I hope
yeah,
I'm wrong. I hate to not sound like a Dolphin fan, but I just don't trust this offense. Is if you watched it all year, you're shocked, but at the same time you question, like, why didn't these teams just do this? You see what I'm saying? Like, it was so easy to stop, and then it's crazy when you go back and watch it. Like, every defensive coordinator would go back and be like, "Oh, next time I play him, I'm gonna shut this down."
The one thing I will say is that let's flip it around and let's just say Miami wins, and we play Miami in the playoffs, and we have to Miami goes on a run, they win the AFC East, and the Chiefs have to play Miami in Miami. I like our chances because the offense, even though it's fun and there's a lot of motion and a lot of shifting, it's not overly complicated. I really think that even if we got a loss, I wouldn't be scared to play Miami in the playoffs, which I know sounds mean, but that's just the way it is. But the Chiefs.
Well, but is it because of the quarterback?
It's not because of the quarterback. I'll level with you. Like in the AFC, the only team I'm really afraid of is Cincinnati. Every other team in the AFC, I'm not scared of. Cincinnati, I'm scared of. I hope he beats. If you guys play the Bengals, beat the shit out of the Bengals.
I know how, because you Chiefs and Bengals go down crazy. This Sunday, what, Sunday night? Is it Sunday night or Monday night that we have Bills and Chiefs?
Sunday night. Actually, Monday. It's some really good games.
This Sunday night is Bills and Chiefs, right?
No, Sunday night's going to be Bills. Yeah, Bills Bengals, and then Monday
Bills and Bengals. I'm sorry.
I think me and you are both going to enjoy this Monday night, Jets and Chargers. I think that's just a really underrated. It's going to be I'm really kind of excited about that Jets Chargers game. I think it's going to be a fun game. But answer this comment, Chief Superfan. This is why I wanted to bring him on, is because he's able to be objective. I don't bring on these fanboys who come on and try to. When the Chiefs played the Vikings and there was some Vikings fan who's like, "Oh, the NFL's rigged," that guy's not welcome on my show. All right, if you're that guy,
this is not the Dolphins beating up on Sean Payton's first year Broncos. This is not the Dolphins beating up on the first year coach in Carolina, or how about the bad coach in the Giants, Dayball. You see what I'm saying? I mean, this is Andy Reid that Mike McDaniel's facing. So I always start off with the top head notch. Andy Reid versus Mike McDaniel. Then I move on to the next, which is the most important part in the NFL, is quarterback. Quarterback is clearly the best quarterback in the NFL. The throne is too. You guys know Patrick Mahomes. He's the owner at quarterback right now. Every owner wants him, but they can't have him. That's the better side. Then you look at the trenches. And honestly, the Chiefs' offensive line is better than the Dolphins' defensive line. And the defensive line for the Chiefs is clearly better than the offensive line for the Dolphins right now. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs don't get many sacks because of the way the offense is schemed to get the ball out so quick, so Tua doesn't get hit, because they're scared of him to be a drop back quarterback, so they want him to get rid of the ball quick. And I think Andy Reid knows this. And that's why I think we're not going to put up points. That's the only thing. I love my team, but it's so simplistic, and it's gone on already for 8 weeks. At some point, it gets figured out. Defensive coordinators are going to figure this out, Dan. It can't sustain.
I think Andy. I think that Steve Spagnuolo will do a good job against the Dolphins, but I just still think that they're going to get theirs. That's why I got 31-27. You know what? I'm gonna throw you another curveball here, because I just pulled up DraftKings. Earlier in the week, it was 2.5. Right before the show, we were talking. It's actually dropped. The Chiefs have dropped from a 2.5 point favorite to 1. It's now 1.5. So before we started the show was at 2. So somebody's put some heavy action on Miami.
Yeah, they did.
Yes. So right now, if you're listening to me and Pete, and Pete does a little sports betting, I do. We both agree here. We both like Kansas City. You can get Kansas City. I'm on DraftKings, so depending on which site you go to, it was 2.5. You can get them now for 1.5. The money line for the Chiefs is -122. If you want.
This is a safe bet, man. This is a safe bet. Kansas City wins this one outright, and that's just the way I see it. It's just the way I see it.
I see it too. Pete, do you have a score prediction?
I gave it to you. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to handle business. I think the Chiefs are coming off an embarrassment loss, and I think that they're going in there to try to show the NFL that they're gonna beat. I want to say one of the best teams in the NFL, but I don't want to be biased because me as a fan, I don't think my team is one of the best teams in the NFL. Just like I also don't think that the Chargers are one of the worst teams in the NFL. You see what I'm saying? So I just think the Chiefs are going to go up there, handle business, try to do it quick. If Vic Fangio doesn't blitz, Mahomes is going to have his way all game, dude. He's going to have his way all game. You guys are going to go on long drives, possibly 8, 12-play drive, chew up 6, 7 minutes off the clock, score a touchdown, and run away with it. I could see just like that.
Well,
I would say 34-17. 34-17.
Well, a blowout win for the Fish. Google that shit. It's in the dirty apple. And he says he focused on Hill too much. And I keep saying this every time I watch the Dolphins play. I always say the same exact thing, is that Jalen Waddle is just amazing. And it's going to be a struggle to keep Jalen Waddle. My buddy Tim says it's a great show. By the way, the heyday of the Miami. Are you a Canes fan also, Pete?
Yeah, I do like that. Growing up in my time, think about it. I started liking the Dolphins in 2000. Who was the best college team in college in the 2000s?
You got robbed against Ohio State. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that whole 2000 run from the UM, that's what's stealing the show in Miami. That was literally all UM. Everything in the city was UM, at University of Miami. Every store you went to was selling you a UM flag, a UM shirt. You couldn't find Dolphin stuff anymore. It was all UM.
Oh God, I'm not a Hurricanes fan, but when you're talking about the early, that's the best college football team. I mean, what college you had Shockey, Dorsey, who's going to be an NFL head coach soon.
Antrell Roll, Sean Taylor. That team was so stacked. It was only held back by the quarterback, Ken Dorsey, right? Wasn't it held back?
Dorsey was your quarterback. It's funny. There's a story about they got all the freshmen together and they put them in a room. It was like a freshman meeting, and they're like, "So which one of you punks think you're good enough to start on this team?" And apparently Ken Dorsey was like 6'5", 150 or something. He looks like a scarecrow. He stood up. He says, "Yeah, I think I can quarterback this team right now." And then everybody was like, "Yeah, that's our dude." And Dorsey couldn't play in the NFL, but Dorsey, oh God, it was Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson. It was funny. Reggie Wayne hosted Andre Johnson. He's like, "Yeah, this guy's not going to come here." He said like 2 words.
I'm naming defenders. I'm DJ Williams. Oh man. It was just so many of them. Jonathan Vilma.
I remember Sean Taylor single-handedly beat Florida State. I'll never forget it. That this Florida State receiver runs a post and Taylor knocks the shit out of him. So for some reason or another, they'd run the same play the next series, and the receiver alligator arms it, and the ball goes incomplete. Next time, the receiver doesn't even alligator arms. He just does like this. Sean Taylor picks it off, runs it back for a touchdown, and that sealed the victory for the Hurricanes, because back then, I think both teams were like undefeated top 5, and I said he should win Heisman. He was that good.
I'm telling you, Dan, when rest in peace to Sean Taylor, we miss that dude a lot. To me personally, I think the NFL era change would have hurt Sean Taylor because of the timing of his career. If you think about it,
he would have been a guy that should have played in the 70s and the 80s.
Exactly. He would have been one of the NFL greatest players of all time. They started changing rules because of guys like Sean Taylor. think about it.
Taylor
When that guy hit the punter in the Pro Bowl, they said,
oh
"Nah, man, we
God,
can't
I
have
thought he
this no
killed
more."
that dude. I'll give credit to the punter. He bounced right back up and patted
But
Sean
to
Taylor
me,
on
Sean
the head.
Taylor would have probably went down as one of the greatest safeties of all time if he would have finished his career.
It was such a shame. Like I said, I'm not a Hurricanes fan. I'm not pandering to Hurricanes, but I remember that game against Florida State. I think Sean Taylor won that game all by himself. I thought he should have won Heisman, and he was a top 5 pick. He was going to have a Hall of Fame career, and it's just such a tragedy.
I think he won a game in the NFL by himself, pretty much. I think the Redskins were struggling against the Packers. I think he picked off. He dropped. I think that's what happened. He dropped 4 interceptions versus Brett Favre and the Packers.
I remember
that he played so good in that game that I think Redskins won that game. It was like they were the underdog.
I don't remember if it was Shanahan who was the coach or not, but I remember Kellen Winslow, who was also on that team. He was pissed because he had a meeting with Washington, and like he thought that Washington was going to draft him, and I remember he was pissed because they took Sean Taylor instead of him, and I remember thinking, like, nothing against Kellen Winslow Jr. as a player, but I'm like, dude, you really think that you're better than Sean Taylor? I mean, come on, man.
I can't even lie. I'm gonna be honest. I might be biased or whatever, but when Kellen Winslow was coming out of college, that's who I wanted the Dolphins to draft.
Oh, he was really good. You had Shockey, you had Winslow, you had another tight end who's really, really good, and I can't think of.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't recall his name right now.
Yeah,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You had this. Yeah, matter of fact, it was funny. You had a 4th.
Hayden Hurst.
No.
You're talking about
South Carolina.
Hayden Hurst. No, Hayden Hurst went to the U.
No, Hayden Hurst went to South Carolina. Had time to go. You had one guy, Alonzo Highsmith was the tight ends coach, and he ended up talking to your 3rd or 4th string tight end, and he said, "Listen, you're good enough that you can play in the NFL for 12 years, but if you put on 20 to 30 pounds, you play left tackle, you're going to make at least 30 million more in his career." And he ended up, I can't remember the guy's name, but he ended up making 60 million. He was the NFL president for a while, and he spent some time in Kansas City. I can't think of that guy's name, but he said that he was Kellen Winslow's backup at one time. And then Alonzo Highsmith told him, "Look, just put on 30 pounds and play left tackle, and you'll make over $30 million more." And it happened. And it happened. I wish I could remember that guy's name. And
that's crazy. Some coaches could see it. Could see it. He probably looked like a real tackle at tight end blocking, and he visioned it, and he said, "Wow."
He signed. He played a long time in Cincinnati. Played in Kansas City. When he retired, he was the NFL's the president, or I can't look up his name.
But, I wish it wasn't Ogden, right? No, it wasn't
Ogden. But it was kind of neat because Alonzo Highsmith, he was a really good player in the 80s for the Hurricanes, and also it's funny. Not too long ago, I watched Catholics versus Convicts. I don't know if you ever seen that 30 for 30. If you haven't, you need to. It's really good. We could probably talk. I'm not even a Hurricanes fan. I'm not going to say that, but that era in the 2000s,
it was so dominant.
It's the best I've ever seen.
It was so dominant. What did they win? Like consecutive championships?
Yeah, the USC comes close. I mean, it comes really, really close. And the Alabama era that a couple of years ago, that's pretty good too. But for me, that those Hurricanes teams of 2000, that's the best teams I've ever seen. And I don't think you'll ever see anything like it again. I really don't. Because a lot of those guys played for 2-3 years. A guy like Kellen Winslow, in today's game, he wouldn't be a backup to Jeremy Shockey. He would leave and go somewhere else and start. That's kind of where we're kind of at as far as college football. That's another rant for another day. Philly is going to run into a buzzsaw soon. I ask everybody because it's on the link below. Check out my picks video, but spoiler alert, I do have Dallas winning, and that's an upset pick this week. What's crazy is we're a 1-point favorite against the Chargers. Well, the Chargers play on Monday night. We'll talk about that later here. I've already kept Pete on here way too long, and I feel bad. You know, he's agreed to come on, and he's on the East Coast here. So I'll go one pride. All my social media links are below. You can DM me. I'll DM you later on. One pride. I can go into a lot of detail about that. But listen, Pete, man, before I let you go here, I want to thank you for coming on. I hope that I can get you to come back. I expect your Dolphins to be in the playoffs. I'm hopeful I can get you back against the. All right. So anyway, Pete took off. I didn't want to keep Pete too long, and I felt bad. But I'll answer your question right now. One pride. What's crazy is you're actually the Chargers are a 1-point favorite, and here's why. It's just a look ahead line, and what it is that LA is very close to Vegas. There's a lot of sports betting. A lot of people are expecting the Chargers to win big. Detroit's on the bye. Do I think it'll stay that way? No, I don't. So right now, the Chargers are actually 1-point favorite. That's a look ahead line. That's going to change quite a bit. So I wouldn't worry about it at all. Pete had to take off. Chief Superfan had the greatest comment here. I look like Jeff Bezos' cousin. I love it. If anybody has any questions, final thoughts, comments, I'm going to go ahead and end the show here. Pete was nothing short of fantastic. Check out his YouTube channel. Follow him on social media. He has a lot of really great stuff. So, okay, my phone. Hey, Pete, I was just singing your praises. I really hope that I can get you to come back on for the playoffs. I'd love to talk draft with you. Please come back sometime. And if anybody else has anything, go ahead and send me a message. I'll go ahead and wrap it up. And guys, have a great weekend. I will be back. I'll actually be back if you check out the link below. Sunday, Chiefs, Dolphins, Germany. It's 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. I'll be doing live play-by-play and reactions, so tune in for that. Hopefully I see you all back Sunday.